morning. I'm Fred Earnest, President and CEO of Vista Gold. We have the Mount Todd Gold Project in the Northern Territory of Australia, and we're very excited about our prospects as we head into this year.
Down to the last 9 years, right?
Yeah.
Well, after 20 years, this has been out last 20 years. The timing seems to be right at the moment. At the top of the cycle, not even the top of the cycle, but the beginning of the next cycle, aren't we? So, look, Fred, I wanted to kind of catch up and see where you're at. Obviously, put the study out at the end of last year and did recent financing. Now it's a case of kind of executing things to get to the point where we can actually produce some gold. So I'm interested in where we're at today. So where are we?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, we finished the feasibility study last July.
Yeah.
Right-sized the project. Reduced capital 59%, focused on grade over tons. And at the end of last year, we made the decision that we're going to advance the project to the point that we can commence detailed engineering in 2027. And so really there's three activities that we're focused on right now. One is the permits for the project. We're all based on the 2018 50,000 ton per day design. And there's been some drilling. Obviously, the gold price has come up, and so the pit shape and some other things around the plant site are a little bit different, and there's some minor modifications that are required. And all of that work of modifying those permits is in progress. 3 of those permits are territory-granted permits. I think we'll have all 3 of those by the end of the year. There's one federal authorization that will probably take 14, 16 months from now. So that's one activity. Second is that we've started building a team in Australia. We're going to have a small executive team based in Perth to manage development and ultimately operations of the project. 3 of the initial 6 people that we're targeting have already started work, and we're just thrilled to have them on board. And then the third thing is that there were a couple of engineering studies that were recommended in the feasibility study. One is a small met testing program to get the last little bits of information that we need for equipment selection and design. And that drilling was finished in January. Core is being shipped to the met lab this week. And there's a geotech program that'll kick off in the next 4 to 6 weeks. And hopefully that'll result in steepening the pit wall on the west side, reducing the stripping ratio. So it's going to be a busy year, but I'm really excited about where we're at.
Yeah, you should be, because I think there's very few advanced development stories out there. I mean, the ones that have been existing, sort of slowly being ticked off the list as they're sort of acquired and picked up by majors looking to kind of backfill reserves, et cetera. Obviously, for you in Australia, it's got to be one of the larger projects. What's the end game for you? How do I make money, Fred, is what I'm asking.
Well, you know, we have just an outstanding table or chart in our corporate presentation that shows our valuation compared to the junior gold miners in Australia. And as a developer, our valuation is, today it's about 350 million US. Yeah. And the lowest valued junior producer, somebody producing less than 150,000 ounces of gold per year is like $1 billion. And so our target is, to achieve the re-rating that comes with transitioning from being a developer to being a producer. And aspirationally, we think that, at a very minimum, we should be valued like a Bellevue at, $1 to $2 billion. But aspirationally, we're looking at Capricorn Metals, which, at 120,000 ounces a year going to 150, yeah, is, has a valuation of like $8 billion. And that's our target. Now, okay, you mentioned M&A. That's one of the aspects that we can't control. We start doing all these things that we need to do to advance the project, and it may trigger that offer that you can't refuse, that our shareholders find acceptable. But right now, we see the path to create value is to advance the project and develop it ourselves.
Okay, but let's talk about that, because obviously the project's been around, had a few owners prior to you guys picking it up, 20 odd years ago now, right? What were the issues that they faced? Was it technical? Was it cycle, i.e., metal price? And what do you do to kind of help people understand why not only is it in good hands, but you are going to be able to execute on the plans?
Well, certainly, previously, The Mount Todd Project was owned by a couple of different owners. The first ones tried to run it as a heap leach program project, and we really don't understand that decision unless it was simply the fact that all of their drilling was RC drilling. And they started with very fine cuttings, and they bottle rolled it and decided that it would leach. We just don't see it that way, and they only got 52% recovery out of the heap. Nice. The second owner was Pegasus. They came in, they built a mill, they did the right things, but unfortunately, about the time they started to build the mill, the gold price started falling from $380 when they started construction to less than $300 an ounce when they were in operation, and they had some challenges with the equipment that they selected, particularly in the third and fourth stages of crushing.
Right.
And today we would say the equipment that they selected was not the right equipment, and that's 20/20 hindsight, and no reflection on them. But so one, it's a different gold price environment, obviously. Second of all, we've done an immense amount of work. When we acquired the project, we knew everything that had gone wrong.
Right. Helpful.
All of our drilling has been core drilling. So we've been able to get a better understanding of structure, geology, to see the rock. We've done a huge amount of work on comminution. We've sent more rock to ThyssenKrupp Policius in Germany than any other mining company.
Yeah.
So we've done our homework, and we've decided on this basically the same crushing circuit that Boddington and Cadia have, and they have relatively hard ore as well. So, we've done the homework, we've selected the equipment, and it's all about right sizing it and moving forward.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? With the market moving like this, I'm sure you've had a few conversations with finance guys saying, well, why don't you make this bigger? Having obviously made the decision at the right time to do the right thing, by the way, I've seen it before. It's quite amusing. You're now moving into this engineering phase, right? This is where we kind of have to drive those efficiencies, especially with where are we? Sort of about a gram, just over a gram, sort of average for the first few years. Is that right?
Right. We're focused on the getting the project ready to the point that's ready to start construction.
Yeah.
The bigger scale question, it comes up mostly from producers.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people who've looked at Mount Todd over the years have said, what, you're doing exactly the right thing. It needs to get built.
Yeah.
We can expand it later.
Yeah.
And we've designed it so that it can be expanded.
Yeah. No. So it keeps the capital cost down later as well, because you're using cash, right? But back to that kind of engineering and that efficiency drive. So you talk about building a team in the Northern Territory, I should say. They're going to come from where? Because obviously people are hard to come by. Experienced people, build people, and then operating people. How are you doing on that front?
Well, so like I said, we're building an executive, team that are based in Perth. We plan to have a small office, 8 to 10 people in Perth that will drive the development operation. The rest of the team is going to be based in the Northern Territory, as you've indicated.
Okay.
And many of those people will likely work on a fly-in, fly-out basis. Okay. We recently hired a approvals manager, a guy that's taking care of all of the permitting. Yeah. And he's relocating to the Northern Territory. So there will be a certain number of our professionals that will make that move. Some are, especially the operating teams, we're going to have a camp. We're going to fly people in and out of the Tyndall Airport in Catherine, and they'll work on a fly-in, fly-out basis.
Not far. It's quite close, right?
No, it's 30 minutes, like 45 Ks, 50 Ks from my site. No.
Okay. So the thing, coming back to this re-rate thing, you look at some of those comps, and you're saying, well, we've got quite a lot of what they've got, if not more, in some categories. What do you think the market's telling you in terms of where it's valuing you today? Is it just purely getting the rest of these permits over the line? Is it the FID, access to the cash? What's the moment where this thing kind of steps change up?
That's an interesting question. We had the financing last week. We raised $39 million, and the over allotment will take it up to about 44.8.
Where'd that come from?
Mostly a dozen large institutions.
Existing or new?
The U.S. and Canada, some are new names, some are people that were already invested.
Okay,
So,
good.
yeah. And, you know, the interesting thing about it, it was oversubscribed by about 2 to 1. The day that the pricing was announced, we closed up 9 cents from the previous day. You know, so there was strong demand, there was strong support. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next month or two. I think, you know, because I think that we announced the plan, people knew that we needed money to execute, now we have the money. And does that, you know, start us on this, you know, the next step of the re-rate?
Yeah.
Obviously, we see in the industry that when people get their construction financing in place, that seems to be a catalyst for, you know, the next leg up. Those who have financing in place have a better valuation than those of us who don't.
Right, and obviously that's you reduce that, so you dropped that by 59%. I think you said. Where's that money going to come from? What's that financing stack look like?
You know, right now, Doug Tobler, our CFO, we're working with Endeavor Financial to look at the debt side of it. You know, conventional bank debt possibility. There's a quasi-government fund called the Northern Australia Infrastructure Fund in Australia that we think will be part of that. That's longer tenor, lower cost money. Everybody knows we have a relationship with Wheaton Precious Metals. And so, you know, there's the possibility of, you know, considering some sort of a streaming arrangement. Obviously, there will be an equity component, and right now, it looks like, you know, the project could easily support 65% debt. I don't know that we'll go quite that high, but
yeah.
And then, you know, when we look at the equity side, you know, presently we have a listing on the TSX and the NYSE American.
Yeah.
And we're thinking about whether we should have an ASX listing as well, given that the project is in Australia and that our team is predominantly going to be based there. So I think that we have a lot of options on financing before us right now.
So in a moment like this, where the markets, you know, the gold price is doing what it's doing and margins presumably are increasing, you talk about maybe not wanting to kind of load up on the debt, not having that exposure pre-revenue, but the build period is what for you guys? Not.
You know, we used GR Engineering Services as our lead consultant on the feasibility study, and their real strong suit is construction. And they estimate from the start of detailed engineering through first gold pour is 27 months.
Right. Okay. And by the way, it should be noted that you're soldiering through quite a bad cold to be here. So
welcome to Toronto for PDAC, right?
Yeah, but sharing is caring, but not with that, please.
No, I hope not.
Look, the reason I asked about that is because obviously, you know, with the kind of margins, like say if you use slightly higher prices than you did on the study, the payback on the debt would be pretty darn quick, and you can refinance that out, you know, pretty sharpish. So I'm interested in your sort of caution over debt equity ratio there, and I know I get the Wheaton stuff, and I get the Northern Territory, you know, as well. But why the caution?
Well, I mean, right now we're just keeping options open.
Okay.
You know, I mean, what you said is true. You know, we used a very conservative $2,500 gold price. Today, way over. It's over 5,000. Certainly, it will pay back in, you know, a year and a half or so at these prices. And so, you know, but right now it's all about optionality. We're not locked into anything. No,
and decision. You don't need to make any decisions at the moment. No, just looking at the kind of landscape, we sort of briefly touched on it with M&A. Obviously, there's not a lot of choice out there. If you're trying to, you know, pick up big projects, you've got the ability to obviously expand at a given point because you've done the work on that previously. So for the majors or the mid-tiers looking at projects like yours, what are they looking for, and sort of how do you have to sort of paint that picture yourselves to attract them?
You know, many have voiced the opinion that, you know, by resizing it to 15,000 tons a day, which equates to about 150,000 ounces of gold per year on average. It's the right thing to do, but they all say it's not the right size for us.
Yeah.
And so we've allowed the space in the designs for the expansion to happen.
Right. Okay.
And I guess there's two ways of looking at this. One is, we know that Artemis on one hand, said we're going to build a project, we're going to run it for 3 years, then we're going to expand it 50% or thereabouts, and then year 7 we're going to double that. And then you've got Capricorn Metals on the other hand that said we've got a project that's designed at 120,000 ounces. We're going to get it running the way we want it to at 120,000 ounces, and then we're going to think about expansion. And they're in expansion right now. And we looked at that and we said, we kind of like this strategy because we don't know what the market's going to be at a certain point in time. And so for us, with a large deposit, I can't say today whether it makes sense to go from 15,000 tons to 22.5 or 30 or 45. It might be that we want to go, once we get the project demonstrated, we might want to go straight to 45,000 tons a day, just triple the size of it, and get on with it. So, that's the optionality, and certainly by leaving space in the design for that expansion to take place, that's appealing to the senior, the mid-tier producers, because, to come in and, whether they, let's just think, JV, 75,000 ounces is very appealing to them. 150 could be, you start talking, 200,000 ounces to their account, if it was a 50-50 JV. Then all of a sudden that becomes real volume in addition to their balance sheet.
Right, but your logic all the way along was we've got to stay in control of what we can, do it at this size, so we're not sitting around waiting for someone to knock on the door. But whilst you're getting on with this, you were making clear to those, it's a limited few handfuls of people we're talking about here. We have allowed for expansion to a size that may suit you. Okay, I understand. So back to my question about how do I make money? This is purely on execution of known elements like the engine. Well, the finance is done now, but the engineering, the financing, I guess appointment of whoever the heck's going to build this thing, not just design.
I think of the short term, absolutely. It's all on execution. I mean, gold price is back there doing what it's doing in the background, and certainly we enjoy as much leverage as anybody to the gold price. We compare ourselves to a group of 15 different developers, and over the last 2-year period, we're 4th out of 15 in share price performance. And so, I think that speaks a little bit to A, what we're doing, and B, the fact that we enjoy this leverage. So I think there's the two factors. One is execution of the plan. Second of all is gold prices pushing us at the same clip or better clip than it's pushing other companies.
But I haven't missed the boat, and you're not overvalued.
No, I wouldn't say we're overvalued yet.
Good man. Look, Fred, lovely to see you get to this point.
Absolutely.
12 months of execution, and hopefully I can make some gains during that period if I invest in you, yeah?
I hope so.
Good man. Thank you.
Thank you.